Hello and welcome to the Games Today podcast. This is our second game vlog. This time we are covering Fire Emblem, the Blazing Blade. I had to think about that for a second. That is the title. And with me to discuss it, my good friend Stefan.
Hello.
So this game's kind of interesting. We'll both start out with personal stories. For those who aren't aware, here in the States, this game is just called Fire Emblem, and it was released in, I think, 2003 for the Game Boy Advance. And much like Final Fantasy, it's just caused confusion later.
It wasn't as bad as Final Fantasy, because Final Fantasy was just straight up labeling them wrong.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if this game was called Fire Emblem 7, The Blazing Blade, that...
Actually, a lot of people would be very confused, because all right, where's the other 6? It was 2003.
Okay, maybe if they just called it Fire Emblem, The Blazing Blade, that might have just helped, but...
Just use the subtitles.
Yeah. Regardless, Stefan, please go ahead. How did you come across this game? How did you first start playing it? Yeah, please take the floor.
Okay, so I think my first passing familiarity was like many people in the West because of Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really internalize Marth or Roy, so I didn't really connect them to any game. So my real experience was can't talk. Great for a podcast.
It's fine.
My brother's friend let him borrow Fire Emblem, and it was a completed save file. And after my brother played it a bit, I played it a bit. I think I didn't play I played through Lynn's story. I think I got Dorcas killed, which was unfortunate, but not entirely. And then I jumped right into Hector's mode because I was like, oh, this guy looks cool with his axe. And I don't think I ever got out of that chapter. That was my initial experience. Then after enough years went by and I got older and wasn't as stupid of a child, I got it myself and then played through it. And yeah.
Ahead, sorry.
No, that's about it.
So there was actually quite a few similarities. I like you said, was exposed to Fire Emblem because of Super Smash Bros. Melee, and then Roy was my favorite character, and so I saw Elliewood, and it was like, oh, is that Roy? And it's like, no, actually, but pretty close. And my brother bought this game because he was interested, and it didn't really click with either of us. I remember getting to the furthest I've ever been in this game. I got stuck on several chapters in Lynn's story. The furthest I remember getting was to the first bonus chapter, the first side quest, which is
the Gaiden chapter.
Yeah,
I believe it was at chapter 7.
Yeah, 7X. I played it again with my brother not too long ago.
You probably have the freshest memory.
Right, and when I played it again, I'm like, this is so easy. Why did I get stuck on this? But the first time, I distinctly remember getting Dorcas killed over and over and over. So
it's really easy to think, oh, he has a lot of health, but then you realize axes are terrible.
Not only that, but I think looking at that chapter, I think the issue is just there's a lot of mages behind walls. So maybe that's it. I
think I got Dorcas killed in his recruitment chapter, so I didn't. As a kid, I never got to experience that.
Oh, okay. Regardless, so me and my brother kept on trying again with Fire Emblem. The next time we played Path of Radiance, he bought Path of Radiance, and I just remember like, this game's too hard for me. I can't do this. And then the next time,
is Path of Radiance the one with the messed up difficulty?
It's... Oh, actually, I think you're right. Where hard mode's actually normal or something like that.
It was either that or Radiant Dawn. I forget specifically which one, but I know they really messed up there.
Yeah, one of them switched like normal for hard or something like that,
I
and like
don't think it was necessarily normal for hard, but like they undersold the difficulty, I think.
hmm. Well, regardless, then Fire Emblem kind of goes dark, and it's a few years past. My brother sells Path of Radiance, and now that I'm a Fire Emblem fan, I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Um,
Hindsight is
and
2020.
right, and Awakening comes out, and say what you will, but I'm really glad about Awakening because I guess I really needed that game to teach me how to play Fire Emblem,
Mm-hmm.
and Awakening was that for me. It was the first game I completed, and um, then I played through Fates and then Echoes, and now I'm just like, I want more, I want more, and I my brother was in town, and I guess both he's now a Fire Emblem fan too, and we both kind of wanted to play through Fire Emblem 7 and finish it,
Mm-hmm.
which we got really close, not quite. I finished it on my own without my brother, but I think it was like chapter 28 or 29 we got to together.
Okay, so like right at the end.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. Like, if we turned off combat animations a few chapters prior, we probably could have finished it. But um, that's where I sit today, and gosh, I'm glad I did. Just segue right into our, I guess, next question. Just favorite moments and characters about Fire Emblem 7. So, um, yet
By
again,
moments, are we
guest
talking
first.
about gameplay or are we talking about like things that happen in the story?
Everything and everything. So, just like story moments, gameplay moments. I think Fire Emblem's pretty easy with this because there are certain chapters I think that really stick out.
Mm-hmm.
At least in my experience, it's just like, oh, I remember this fight, or um, especially like when a crit happens on you, or you do a crit, or whatever, right?
Yeah, those 1% crits, the most terrifying thing in Fire Emblem.
Oh God.
Never happened to you when you
So
wanted it to happen, but it always happens when the enemy is looking for it.
right, I've been playing a little bit of Sacred Stones, and this guy, I had combat animations off, and this guy just comes up and crits my archer, and I go and attack the guy, and he has a 0% crit chance, and I'm like, how did that even happen? What did he do?
Well, you
I'm
mean did you restart the chapter with the same character and have them attack?
no, I imagine it's different crit for characters, but it's just
Yeah.
like
Well,
I
if it's
took
sacred,
a different I took a different character and looked at the combat possibility, and like, he has a 0% crit. How did that happen?
well, Neme has pretty garbage stats, so her luck was pretty probably not up to good.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Unless was this far enough in to get Innis?
No, no, this is Nime. You
Okay,
got the
so
right character.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now we're getting tangent. That's fine. This is a tangent podcast, I've learned.
Yeah.
But
Well, one always big standout moment is the Gaiden chapter against the pirates, the port of
oh my
Bannon.
gosh, that's
One,
such a fun chapter.
it is the most stressful if you decide to not follow its advice and to actually try and kill the enemies for experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really get that because we had to restart the chapter once because I charged forward and a whole bunch of people like attacked Lynn or something like that. But
Yep, that chapter really makes you have to make good use out of one, very tanky units, and two, not many units. Like especially if you play Hector mode, you don't have a lot of resources.
I actually don't. So I don't think that chapter is that dangerous because there's a lot of
It's just a
narrow corridors.
true, but you get hit with a lot of enemies with very powerful weapons. Plus, you have a mini boss that just shows up right in the middle of it.
Oh, fuck that guy.
But usually, the
Um,
biggest issue is like the people that come in with like hammers. Like those pirates are the most terrifying if you're running Oswin. Not as
Mm.
much in the English version as the Japanese, because when they imported the game to the West, they toned down the critical rate, or rather,
Ah.
not so much the rate, but the actual damage. So effective and critical attacks would only do twice the damage rather than three times like they do in every other game.
Oh, I was reading about that actually. Yeah.
So
The
it was a blessing for when you were defending, but it was kind of a curse when you were attacking because you couldn't get those guaranteed kills you'd need to be efficient.
mm, that's interesting. Have you played the Japanese version or?
I haven't personally played it, I'm just familiar with it.
Oh, okay. Um, I particularly like that chapter because it had one of my favorite characters you recruited, and that is the Dark Mage Canis.
Canas. I don't know
Just
about pronunciation, just go with it. But yeah,
yeah, one of those. I secretly want a remake of this game just because I want them to voice act it so I can understand how to say all these things.
hmm but as
Um,
long as we don't get the persona issue in which very inconsistent pronunciations because the voice direction is not as great as it should be.
I mean, if it's anything like Echoes, it'll be fine.
Yeah, Echoes
Uh,
was fairly consistent. I just always think about Persona. It's just like, can you stay consistent?
oh yeah, with especially with names.
Mm-hmm.
But right. I just dark mages. I've never ran a dark mage, and I think that's kind of fault of the newer games, honestly, because in Awakening, I don't think they give you one.
Dark
Um,
mages, you get two:
in Awakening, I don't remember.
Tharja and
Uh,
Henry.
oh yeah, I'm dumb. Um, and
You've been
then
playing enough heroes. I presume you are familiar with the names.
yes, I'm familiar with Tharja and Henry. I don't like either of them, so that would explain why I never used them. Uh,
They're both
Tharja's
pretty
okay,
solid.
but
Tharja's certainly a powerhouse with not much accuracy. She's basically an axe user, and then Henry is
uh,
a bit more bulky. But yeah, no, they're both there. But yeah, I was about to say like their base classes aren't good, but they actually like the sorcerer class is one of the best thanks to vengeance and life drain.
mm, um, and then Fates. I can only really remember like Odin and Leo and
Um,
Odin's. Oh no, you get the one that's trapped in a child's body, Nyx, I think.
yeah, Nyx, Odin, and Leo's the promoted one.
Right. So um, no, I know for sure in Echoes you don't get a dark mage, but I'm just saying like I don't think the dark mage is maybe I'm just being bad about this, but I I didn't realize how awesome dark mages were. So
You've had a string of bad examples. Not so much Tharja and Henry because well anyone can be good in Awakening, but
mhm.
Odin was just garbage. Nyx was super frail like many mages are, so it was hard to use her. And Leo was actually pretty middling of between his entire family.
Yeah, it's tough because if you play Conquest, you definitely get the worst family royal family units, which is it is what it is.
I mean, Elise is one hell of a Valkyrie when you promote her, but
Sure, but like if it's like Xander versus Ryoma, yeah, I want Ryoma, and if it's like Takumi versus Leo, I want Takumi. Like just
Takumi's stuff definitely applies better to his class.
so. But that's Fates, different discussion. Anyways, Kanas, he's got purple hair, he's got a monocle.
I think he has one of the most spot on color schemes for his class.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly by comparison, well, no, whenever I think like dark mages in GBA games, my mind goes to freaking Eowyn in Sacred Stones because I always make him a dark mage because there's better people to do other roles.
Mm.
And he has a blue and orange color scheme, so I always remember the blue and orange druid.
Okay, that sounds weird.
But like,
But
yeah, no, I think actually my comment's a little dumb. Damn you, Ewan! You ruin more things every time I talk about you.
Kanas, especially as a druid, he's so goofy. I mean, druids look goofy. They're like crowmen, and it's awesome. Uh,
They're just missing the mask, and they'd be a plague doctor.
So this is actually something I think I've picked your brain about, but now we're on a podcast, so I'll pick your brain again.
Got it?
There's really only one character I feel like kind of escapes Fire Emblem 7 is actually popular, and that would be Lyn.
Yeah,
Um,
mostly in the West, I think. I'm not sure. Then again, FE Heroes could be a contradiction.
yeah, I think Effie Heroes is honestly pretty good at making everyone a little more popular,
Well,
which is
I was
nice.
more referring to like especially with like the choose your legends and all that stuff. Like it's hard to tell
Oh,
what is what with what region. Like who's voting for
mm,
who in what part of the world. Now I'm sure they have the stats and they might have shared them, but it's hard to tell. I mean, I believe in Japan one of the more popular games was FE3, and
really?
out here most
Mm,
people are like, it's a good remake.
right. Speaking of Choose Your Own Legends, freaking Dorcas? How is Dorcas so high? Like,
Anyone who actually saw the commercial that we were unfortunately graced with know of the Dorcas meme.
okay.
But other than that, I guess it's mostly just a familiarity with him as a unit. Like he's a really good character. Like he's very well written. He's kind of an everyday man, and he's really easy to identify with. Not the
I
best unit because axe users are pretty plagued if you're not Hector, and even then, Hector is only just good in his niche.
uh, I I would push back the. Nah, never mind. Dorcas is just funny. He's just silly. Like, you're right. He's well written, but besides his few moments, he's just like a beady-eyed buff Axeman. So
I think he gets more goofy because of how the sprites look.
yeah,
Their
for sure.
combats, the warrior isn't that bad, but the fighter sprite looks so goofy.
But right. So back to FE7 characters, which this is still related, but
Hmm.
I'm really surprised because now that I've played this game, there's a lot of good characters in here, and
Yeah,
I'm especially fond of Elliewood and Hector, which I imagine a lot of people are.
great
And
romance right there.
right, and I just don't understand why it's Lynn that gets out because playing through Fire Emblem 7, Lynn is not. She's fine, and that's all I can really say.
I think the
The
thing with Lynn is that because her story is right at the beginning, and it's not too long, but it's a complete arc, a lot of people get to really identify and really enjoy everything that encapsulates her. Whereas with
hmm,
Elliewood and Hector, if you aren't playing the game and noticing a lot, especially because you have to, all their moments are spread out a lot more because it makes sense.
right.
You kind of forget things, or you kind of become less attached, or you start thinking of a lot more of other characters. Whereas through Lynn's entire tutorial, she's very upfront, center stage, and you get to see everything that she has to go through, and just better identifies, I guess.
Yeah.
I think the
I was kind of
conciseness of her story is what really helps her out because people get a full character arc in very
sure.
few chapters by comparison to the other games.
I mean, but when I was playing her story, it's hard not to like roll my eyes a little bit. Like this is like fantasy story 101.
Oh yeah, no, it is generic as all hell.
Which is it's fine, especially because it's trying to be concise and it is. It's good. It's fine. You know, like you said, complete character arc. So, uh,
Also,
as
she's
far
very attractive, so a lot of guys.
yeah, I was gonna bring that up. Is it the like the no pants half Chinese dress thing with like I think
Speaking of her design, yeah, that's a very interesting mix between some Native American themes alongside traditional. Well, not tradi- I guess it is traditional Japanese.
I I not quite. It's not quite like Ikumono or Yukata, but it's
Yeah,
close, I
I
guess.
think it's probably definitely pulls a lot more from Native American than it does from Japan, especially if you see some of the male designs.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Is like Lim's got this weird Chinese dress thing, and all the other people you meet from the Plains of Sake, please look like please remake so I know how to say that properly. They all
Sake,
have
sachet, yeah.
something like that, right?
I'm sure there's an
They
origin that says something about it.
they all wear different clothes than Lynn does. At least in my opinion, they look a lot more like hunters than Lynn, and Lynn just kind of looks like, yeah, a Chinese dress. But
You're right,
regardless,
Chinese. Why was I saying Japanese earlier? I'm dumb.
it's fine. In Heroes, I swear they made her boobs a lot bigger too. Like in Fire Emblem 7, she's not sexualized at all, which, thank you. And then,
Yeah, I mean, she has some revealing, mostly just with the legs, but yeah, nothing
yeah.
over the top.
Um, Especially when you learn, like, US version, it's like she's 18 and, like, no,
We
she's actually,
we aged her up when she was like 15 in
yeah,
Japanese
15,
version.
which is, God, 15. Wow. My brother pointed this out. Something funny about Lynn is she calls Zephiel's parents horrible, and my brother commented like, says the orphan girl. Um,
She knew her parents enough.
yeah, I know, but it's just
She was old enough to be traumatized.
the it's bad. It's really bad when the orphan says your parents are horrible. I think that's what he's going for. But speaking of that, this game's really interesting and with its setup, especially in relation to Burn,
hmm
because you basically have this entire arc where it's like, I guess we're going to Burn now and doing some things.
Yeah,
Um,
I think the biggest Burns weird because it feels more like they just needed to fit some connections to FE6, especially in retrospect.
hmm,
Because like, yes, it kind of makes sense of we need to be able to find the legendary weapons and all that junk, but
yeah,
like, just actual plot relevance just feels like just the prequel thing of like, oh, we're gonna make some connections to the other story. Hoo, get that reference?
yeah. And as a U.S. audience, it's interesting looking at this because, well, I'm an adult and I know about Fire Emblem, so it's kind of one of those like, all right, I get this. This is actually interesting stuff, and it's setting up for FE6, and I'd love to play that game. Oh wait, I can't.
Well, I mean, you can.
Well, I can, but like as a casual American fan, you
Yeah,
couldn't.
no.
And and
Unless you
I
quickly learn to read Japanese characters and import a copy, you're kind of screwed,
right.
barring
So
piracy.
I can't imagine being like, like 10 or 12 or whatever and playing this game and like, who are these characters? Why do I care?
Yeah,
Right?
like imagine meeting Mur in the desert and you're just like, who is this?
Right. And
Heck, the only
stuff.
reason you're familiar with her is because of Heroes.
Right. So like when I was playing, there's a chapter where you go to the desert and you're playing as Hawkeye and right, and you can find Faye, and it's cool because I know it's a connection to the six, Fire
All
Emblem
right, Mur
Six.
is FE8. I'm stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm getting my little dragon girls mixed up.
I was a little confused. I'm like, just keep on going. But right, meeting Faye in the desert, or one of the last chapters, you can meet Sophia. Um,
Oh yeah, I always forget about her little cameo at the damn like penultimate chapter.
right, just really late on, and they mean something to me, and I know their relevance. But like as a 12-year-old playing this game, it'd be like, okay, thanks, purple-haired lady, right?
hmm
Um, so I were you the one telling me that maybe they were planning on bringing FE6 first, and then they said, "Wait, this is too hard."
In an interview with the director of Shadows of Valencia, he mentioned that if he were given the opportunity to remake another game, he wanted to remake FE6.
Right, right. I think someone told me that they were initially translating Fire Emblem 6 and calling that one Fire Emblem here in the States, but they said, "Oh, this is too hard. We're gonna do the next one that has the easier tutorial." Um,
Hmm.
And I mean, is there any truth to that? I don't know, but
I'm not familiar with the translation process
I
and
mean,
how much effect that had in the early games.
so regardless, we got this game, and just back to characters. I think, yeah, I don't know why I like Elliowood because he's basically a straight man for Hector and Lynn, um,
Yeah.
and he's generic. I can't pinpoint a thing that like this is what Elliowood does, and it's awesome. But I think he's really likable. I don't know.
Yeah. He's just pretty likable character. That's really all kind of all he has going with him, but he has enough story moments to at least keep him interesting enough, or at least help flesh him out.
Yeah, um, I think it helps that his all of his sprites are really snazzy,
Oh yeah.
and stuff like him wielding Durandal on his horse is like that's like a obviously two handed sword, and he's using it with one hand, and he's like flipping it
I
and
mean,
like
it's
spinning it around.
yeah. I do like. I know, like especially with those three and their ultimate weapons, like their animations are anime as fuck, but I still enjoy a bit of the reasonable momentum to it. Like the fact that the horse is there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Um, I especially like Armads with Hector because the axe blade is tall as he is, and
Yeah.
it's just like, how are you wielding that, sir? Uh,
Fun fact: Lin's unique animations for the Soul Kadi were not in the Japanese version.
oh, really? They added that?
They added it to the Western release.
That's really cool. Um, I already talked about Canis, and Ninian's interesting for how like useless she is. I don't like. She's a dancer, and dancers are useful, and she can actually do more than one dance, which is really cool. I don't know why they didn't bring that back. Um,
Yeah, that was mostly the closest we got is with things like Azura with unique skills to tie on with her dances. But yeah,
um,
I don't know.
I feel like Ninian's unavailable for a lot of the chapters that she's around, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
Um,
you get her kind of late, and then more often than not, you're just hammering out those supports.
right. Um, now, wouldn't oh God, you reminded me of supports. When you played FE7, did you actually get any like support? Oh, excuse me. Did you get any supports to max?
In my first complete playthrough, I got Harkin and Isadora. Actually, I got a lot of them because I had the emphasis. I was focusing on getting as many as I could in one playthrough. Not the best idea for a first full playthrough.
I didn't
Um,
even. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, like because I was focusing on it because like with Anton, like the supports are some of the best parts of these games. It's what really helps bring out the characters. I got
For sure.
all of Marcus's and Merlinus's. Well, rather, I got their support as which is goofy as it should be. Um, Ninian and Elliowood. I think Florina and Hector. Irk and Priscilla. Matthew and Sarah. Um, Harkin and Isadora. Vida and Heath. Kent and Lynn. Sane and did I pair Sane up? I forget. But yeah, no, I managed to hammer out a lot of those supports. Oh, and Nino and Jafar, which was pretty easy.
That's. It's really surprising you're telling me this because for those who don't know how supports
Oh no,
work in this
Sane was with shit. What's uh Flora,
yeah. Okay.
eldest sister. Was it Flora? I forget.
It's something like
Okay,
that. The
I
fact
can
that
check
you
it. I
know
can check it. Fiora. No, Flora was Fates.
the fact that you know this many of the names and like
Oh,
it's a
it's a nightmare, especially with FE4.
yeah, every Fire Emblem game has like a cast of at least like 30 or 40 playable characters. So it's yeah,
and
like
they've
kudos,
and they've managed to keep most of them different.
which is also
There's very few carryover of the same name used.
kudos to
Hmm.
the people who named this. But I'm surprised because you have this many, and for those who don't know how supports work in this game, it's absolute asinine. It's this is one of the only parts about this game I just it's bad in my opinion, and that's so basically you have to sit to these characters next to each other, and that's not really new. That's kind of what it's like now, but the rates of increase are so slow, and the numbers are so high. You must have been sitting for hours getting some of these supports.
I know I spent quite a long time making sure that Heath and Vida and Harkin and Isadora got theirs together because two of those characters are very late game.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
Speaking of that, you
I forgot about Will and Rebecca. Yeah, that's another pair.
another thing about supports is you can only spend like 5 points per se, and
Every single individual unit can only get 5 points of support.
right, and one rank. So C rank between Eliwood and Hector counts as 1 point. So to get an A rank with someone, it costs three.
Which means
Um,
you can only get one per playthrough, which it makes sense because those usually have a unique ending tied to it.
sure, but
It's
um,
awful for those of us who want to complete the game and see that
yes.
100% success rate.
So I thought this was the compromise. So Awakening kind of goes off the walls with supports, and I like
Yep.
they should really dial it back. And who knows? There really hasn't been a new Fire Emblem game since like Awakening slash Fates that um,
Shadows is on a good path in that they're reasonable with the supports.
right. But Shadows is also a remake, right? So
Yeah.
um, I thought this was going to be the compromise. It's just like each character only really has like 4 or 5 supports, and some characters only have like 2 or 3.
There are
But
certainly some with more than others.
right, like I think Lynn and Ellie would have like each have like 8 or something like that.
Elliowood has 7. I forget what Lynn has, but I know like Ninian has 3.
Right, and that's what I thought was going to be the compromise is that like, hey, there's just not as many as there are in Awakening. Like, no, no, the compromise is you only get to do some of these per playthrough.
Yeah.
And that's so frustrating.
Hmm.
The stat increase though that you get from it is pretty nice.
Yeah, the support bonuses.
Uh, but I'm glad you mentioned some of these characters reminding me of who's in this game. Kane and Sent, Kane and Kane and Sent,
Wow.
Kenton Sane.
I
I
gotta write
almost
that
got
down because
that.
that's amazing.
I just like merged their names. That was pretty good.
No, you
But
just switched the first letter.
right, Kenton Sane. As far as Christmas Cavaliers are concerned, I think they're pretty fleshed out. I mean, it helps that they're in Lynn's story.
Hmm.
Um, but they're actually kind of fun characters.
Yeah,
Um,
they play off each other very well.
and now, gosh, I'm blanking. Um, the archers this time around are kind of lame. Sorry, Rebecca and Will, but whatever.
Yeah, non-promoted archers in this game generally have it pretty rough.
Pent and Louise, like, um, I don't know why I like them so much. Just because I don't know, like, they're both really strong. Um,
Yeah, Luis can get job done even though she's still art bow's locked.
right,
But
and
her husband's bonuses can really pull her through.
Pent is really ridiculous.
Yes.
Just his introduction is fantastic, where he's surrounded by all sides by a huge force, and the force is like we're gonna cut you up, and he's like, no, no, you're not.
It's like I'm busy searching for treasure. Get out of here.
Right, and it's really fun watching. at least I thought it was fun, and then I realized that I missed a bonus mission for letting Pent kill so many people.
Yeah,
Um,
that's one of the worst things about that chapter is that Pent is too good.
right, and Pent also, I think he has like unique animations for magic, which is pretty dope.
He does not. All
Really?
sage, all sages have that animation.
Hmm. Maybe I just didn't use the sage, but
Well, I
regardless.
mean, I'm guessing you didn't use Eric once you got
Oh no,
Pent.
I got Eric or Eric, however you say his name, Eric
I
to
said
level
the best I hear it is say Eric, but just say it a little fast.
Eric. Eric. Okay, yeah. I got into level 20 mage, and then just like, well, I'd rather use the seal on someone else, and Pent
Hmm.
is here, so
Yeah, but yeah, Pent's animations are not unique, but his color scheme is pretty solid.
yeah. Gosh, there was another character that he reminded. Crap. Well, do you have any favorite characters? Or are you basically?
Um, Oswin is unfortunately a knight because otherwise he would be a god. Oswin is he pulls so well. He's like a mini Jagan in that he's over leveled, but he doesn't really become a detriment to your playing through. But the
Okay.
problem is that when he promotes into a general, it's just like, you're still awesome, but it's harder to use you because you're slow as fuck. And I don't mean the
Yeah.
speed stat, I mean the move stat.
Realizing, I've replayed a little bit of Awakening recently. I'll talk about that in a bit, but
Mm-hmm.
realizing is just kind of like, God, like knights weren't really viable in the GBA games.
No. Wait till you play FE6.
Right.
Oh,
Um,
God. Oh, man.
if I get to that.
Yeah.
But like
I will eBay you a copy in Japanese and let you play that.
I'm dude, I'll be there. I'll probably just find a copy of my own. The before you could pair up, geez, nice knights were just too slow, really, to do
Yep.
much with.
And pair up
And
really changes your perspective on how to take encounters, doesn't it?
oh yeah, and paladins, just like paladins in the GBA game, are just
Gods.
really, yeah, they're too good.
Even Isadora, who has a terrible constitution, like she can carry herself amazingly.
That's what I wanted to talk. That was the other character.
Isadora.
Thank you. I thought Isadora was like damn. Do I want three paladins? I kind of want three paladins.
There's
Like,
no reason not to have three paladins. You could have four paladins if you want to put the time into Lowen. You could have five if you keep using Marcus.
oh my god, just horse emblem without.
Yeah, that's never
Uh,
changed.
yeah.
Unfortunately, for some cases.
Especially, I'm used to the 3DS titles, so paladin to me is like okay, spears and swords, and like no
And you're like,
GBA.
oh, axes.
It's like oh, great lords. They're or not great lords.
Yeah,
They're
great lords.
no, great knights. Great knights.
Yeah,
That's the
great knights.
class.
Great lords. Yeah,
That's the class name.
they're both
They're
pretty great.
uh,
That hurt me.
thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
Regardless, as far as story is concerned, I was surprised because it's pretty simple at first. The like,
Yeah.
well, the Marquise is missing. Go find him, and it looks exactly like Elliowood, but with like crows and a mustache, the crow's feet and a mustache.
Yeah, Elbert's design is not standing out too much.
Um,
Hector's brother was a much better change of character design between him and him.
yeah, I kind of want to see a comparison. I haven't seen this, but like Lord Elbert and then Elliowood and Roy, like just all lined up sprite wise, because I bet
No,
you.
the comparison you want to do is Elliewood young versus Roy, and then
Oh,
Elliewood grown up versus Elbert.
yeah, they're. I noticed that like Elliowood looks a lot like Roy, so
I think Roy just has a bit of a rounder face, and that's about it.
the considering that Roy's mother could be Ninian, which is just hilarious to me. Like if Ninian is Roy's mother, um, it's like you didn't inherit the blue hair or anything of her character traits. You're just like carbon copy of Elliewood.
To be fair, color, like physical traits never really were a thing until Awakening.
I know, but like,
But
just
yeah, no, like they have to be able to leave it open enough. It's like anyone could have been his parent. It could have
even a
been Lynn.
dragon.
It
Yeah.
could have been Florine. Or I
Or
don't think.
this dragon.
Yeah. I think
The
Theodora. I forget.
I think maybe Rebecca could be. I don't remember. Regardless, um,
I mean, I have
it's
my Game Boy in front of me, so I'm just like, yeah, I can check.
all right. I was actually gonna check before, but I had to pack up my Wii U.
Oh no,
So
it was Lynn, Ninian, or Fiora. Those are Elliewood's options.
okay. Um, so as far as the story, once you find Lord Elver, the game kind of goes hard. Like I don't know, like hard left turn.
Yep.
There's a lot of geopolitics in this game. That's really weird to.
And yet it's still pretty restricted. Not restricted. Refrained. Like
Right.
it gets way more in like FE6 or FE4.
Which is it's so fascinating. I was actually like I kind of had this like mental picture of like, okay, this is the Lycian League and here's all the houses and blah blah, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
retaining a lot of it, and it was super interesting.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite parts about Fire Emblem is like just the world building and like how do things relate? Who's a part of what?
And I noticed this just I mean I'll say like I really kind of started with the 3DS games, and
Mm-hmm.
legendary weapons are kind of there from the beginning in the 3DS games. Like people talk about them, they exist, and when you're playing Fire Emblem 7, there's none of that. And then very late on they start talking about it and how they've all been sealed away and they have to be unsealed, and I was like, oh, that's cool, all right.
Yeah,
um
very different. Well, certainly a big twist from what what's it called? FE4 had, in which if you were a legendary weapon user, you had your legendary weapon. Like it's kind of
hmm,
your birthright. But even like FE1, 2, 3, and yeah, even 6. Well, I mean, you know about 6, but like with FE1
yeah.
and 3, like the weapons were kind of just stuck with the royal family. It's just like, yeah, no, we have the weapons. We're not going to use them. Oh, wait,
Hmm,
shit's going down. Time to use them.
right. The only if I had to knock this game for its story, it's very contrived. The like I think for whatever reason, holding down A during this text dialogue wasn't speeding up the text, so it's just crawling very slowly. But when you get Durandal and Elliewood accidentally kills Ninian, which is still one of the most like, and then the villain's like, "It's not what I've done, but you have." Dun dun dun. Right? Like,
Nurgle is
um,
such a cartoonish villain.
right. That's what I'll say is Nurgle is he's silly. He's way silly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially when he gets rid of his turban. That and it's just like a mad eye. Like, all right,
It's like, this is what was left after I was burned by you, Athos. And he's like,
yeah, yeah. It's dumb. But kudos
Athos
to
just sitting there, just like, why didn't I use Luna?
right. Why didn't I use Luna? Um, the story's all right. I mean, I
Yeah.
like the geopolitics, but the stuff with Ninian and Nurgle and Lord Elbert is just kind of like, this is Fire Emblem, I
I
guess.
appreciate the smaller scope by comparison to the other games.
This
'Cause
is,
every
yeah,
other game is almost consistently, oh, we have to save the entire world. And then this one's just like,
yeah,
and well, it kind of amounts to that in this, but it's just still like a lot more. Even like the final boss is just one dragon.
right. I That's a good point to bring up actually. So this is kind of a shift I've noticed with the new Fire Emblem games. It's like Awakening. Grima is a colossal threat. Um,
Mm-hmm. I am
And
an ancient evil that was retconned into existence thanks to Shadows of Valencia.
was it really Shadows of Valentia?
I mean, there the Shadows is what gave it a bit of a backstory.
Okay, I
Before in
honestly.
Awakening, it was literally just, oh yeah, there was just a new ancient, there's a new dragon that came and started messing stuff up. So Marth's ancestor had to get some stuff done, or
Yep.
descendant rather. Marth's descendant, Crum's ancestor. There you go.
Okay. Well, regardless, Grima is a colossal threat, and he's actually gigantum.
Hmm.
So, um, and then Fates takes it to the anime climax of like the multiverse is at stake here if you don't destroy this evil dragon.
And
Who,
the DLC did not help with that.
right? And for some reason, everyone in existence forgot and is cursed to forget this thing even exists. But regardless, um,
Well, I mean,
Fate Fate's
cursed is a
story.
stupid thing, but like give enough time, and yeah, it's just like, yeah, no, things will get muddled.
Sure, but regardless, Fate's story is easily the weakest part. So
Yep.
you're right. Playing Shadows of Valentia and now Fire Emblem Seven. It's very like no. It there's a dragon and it will destroy the continent, which is everything you know. So
Hmm.
you know that's not to say that another continent might be more prepared should you fail.
Oh no, Etruria and Burn could probably take care of themselves pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Um, Burns got badass units in it, so
They got Vita.
right. And they did have the Black Fang, right? Black Fang is a part of Burn.
I'm not sure. I think they just located in Burn
Okay. Um,
because Vita's the only one who is like loyal to the Burn military and royal family.
Not to back up, I guess, but favorite moments and characters. Black Fang is a really good antagonist group.
They are so much more interesting than Nurgle. Holy shit!
Right. There's this moment when um, for me, this is actually a cool thing. The Fire Emblem 7 has a lot of variants dependent on what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for me, when I defeated Lloyd in this like lake town, and he's like, "I don't understand. You're not evil," and you're like, "No, I'm
Linus.
not." Yeah, or Linus. Thank you.
If you had the town and could recruit Geitz, then it was Linus.
Yeah, it's Linus. Sorry, I forgot. Linus is kind of forgettable.
Yeah,
Um,
no, Lloyd is way more interesting.
so
Well, I find him more enjoyable.
right. So Linus, and you defeat Linus, and then someone comes in, kills Linus, and it makes it look like you did it. And so Lloyd comes
Limbs.
and he's
I believe that was Lim Stella.
yeah. Lloyd comes in, sees his dead brother, and swears vengeance. And it's like, no. I actually had this moment like, no, damn it. I didn't.
Actually,
No.
cool, cool thing.
Hmm.
Who in the actual map, whoever defeats Linus or Lloyd, depending on what your playthrough,
Yeah.
there will be unique dialogue in which the remaining brother will know that you're the one that quote unquote killed him.
What? That's
Yeah,
so cool.
they know which one was the one that finished him in the squabble. It's actually really cool.
Wow. This is another thing about Fire Emblem 7. It's just there's so many variants. Um,
Hmm.
you could play this game like 12 different times and discover something new about it every single time. Uh,
Whether it's something new about a character or
hmm That
well,
being
that's usually
said,
about it.
yeah. I
There's
mean,
some the variances depending on like how this plot progresses, but yeah, I know it's usually learning new things about characters.
there's um, there's at least like I think like four maps that are different depending on what you do.
Yes.
Uh,
Well, two
well, like
maps, four variations.
right. So and there's an entire like secret shop that I never discovered.
Oh yeah.
I should clarify. I was because my brother didn't have much time with me. I was trying to beat this game as fast as I could. So in between
Hmm.
maps, I started looking at the wiki. Like, okay, is there any recruitable units here? Should I know about? Um,
Oh yeah. Who did you get? Harkin or Carol?
I got Carol.
Okay.
Um, that's another like Fire Emblem Heroes picks for Fire Emblem 7. It's so interesting because it's just like you picked Jafar and Carol of all things. Like you've kind of convinced me on Jafar because he is story relevant. But like
Him and
Carol,
Nino have a nice little arc.
right? But Carol of all things. If you said he was from Fire Emblem 6, okay, I don't know anything about that game or what he's like in that game, but
He's
no.
he's a lot more mature.
I imagine he's got like Chini syndrome in this game. Uh,
Yeah,
so, um, but Black Fang's right. Ursula and Jafar are really interesting characters. Linus is okay, and Lloyd is a really good character too.
hmm
Um, so moving on to the next question. Gosh, we spent a long time on that, but that's fine. Um,
tangents.
the hardest parts of this game. In this game, it's easy because it's chapters basically. You mentioned to me one of the longest chapters is Cog of Destiny,
Yes.
and I agree. I think that's one of the hardest chapters in the game. Just
And you and I haven't even experienced the true terror of that map. Hector hard mode.
oh god, I
Mages. Mages everywhere. So
I
many
haven't.
with sleeps, berserks, and boltings.
Oh
Fuck
god,
off.
I don't plan on playing this game on Hector mode anytime soon, but
Hector hard mode is the one. Hector mode's actually
yeah,
not too much. It just adds a couple characters and is just mostly shows you Hector's side of the story, which is actually a
right.
really nice change of perspective when it happens.
I I'm looking forward to it. Like I definitely want to do it, just not anytime soon.
hmm
Uh, so God, by that point we had turned off combat animations because the
Yeah,
chapters were getting really long. I'm glad because Cog of Destiny is long and it's
tedious.
there's there's a lot going on and God, Lloyd is really difficult. Um,
Yep. You have a sword master on the throne. That avoid is freaking insane.
and not only that, but he has a range 1-2 weapon,
Yeah, the light brand.
the light brand, right? And he has something that makes it so you can't take critical hits. So it's like
I forget what it's called in this game.
it's like a seal of like Earth
Is it?
Seal. No, it's not Earth
It
Seal.
wasn't a
That's
seal. It was something guard.
something. It looks like a rock, but um,
I know
regardless,
it's called
that's
a. I know it's called a Hooplan guard in FE8 in Sacred Stones.
um,
Looking it
this
up.
right in this was a hard part for me and my brother, not because of this was much earlier on, but one of the first chapters where you're storming a castle and there's pirates that come out and you can recruit Urk. Um,
Yeah. Okay. Eric's chapter.
right. There's a shit ton of cavalier and
Yep.
there's this particular the boss is a cavalier and he has a silver lance. Um, Me and my brother really struggled with that, and one of the reasons why is because my brother put Eliwood within range of the boss.
Oof. It was an iron rune. Is what the item was.
Okay, Iron Rune. So me and my brother really had this moment where we were like determined to do this suboptimally, and we were save like using one save state over again, just like okay, what if we
Mhm.
did it this way? Nope, he died. What if we did it this way? Nope, he died. Um, we managed to have everyone still alive and have Eliwood take on the boss when he really shouldn't have.
Oh no, Hector is much preferable.
Right, but like for whatever reason, we had like Hector doing something else way
hmm
across the map. Um, so I remember that chapter being really difficult, but only because we decided to do a dumb.
Also, fun fact: that map is a callback to FE6,
I read about that. I read
where
that
you,
that same map is in Fire Emblem 6. So
yep, with the same boss.
really, just like him older.
Yeah, it's Eric older. Still a shit.
figures. He's never gonna grow up to be anything other.
Well, when your
Uh,
influence is fucking Marquez Laos.
yeah. Um, I'm trying to think of other hard parts. The ship
Uh,
chapter when you're not like after the bonus chapter where you can recruit Canas. There's that ship chapter where
yep.
the boss is a dark mage who will absolutely kick your ass.
Because he has Luna.
Right, and
That's the
then
real terrifying part about him.
yeah, I remember that. And then there's the chapter I think immediately afterwards where it's a fog of war chapter
That one
where
is rough, yeah.
fog of war chapter and the boss is a mounted archer.
Yeah, Yuhai.
Right, but I think it's bullshit because he has like a 1 through 3 range bow. Like, god damn it.
It's not 1 to 3. He has a
Oh,
long bow,
sorry.
I believe,
Yeah, a long bow.
because he's a
Not a one
promoted
through three.
unit, he also has access to a sword.
Right. And he's like the very bottom of the map. You have no idea where he is most of the time.
Because Fog of War is stupid. I don't like it.
No, and I that's actually a complaint I can throw against this game. Fire Emblem 7 Fog of War maps were not fun.
It's only
Um,
worse in every single other game it appears in.
really? It's worse than the other games?
FE6 is
Ah,
kind of ass. Well, I wouldn't say ass, but it definitely hurts, especially because some of those chapters are like, hey, you're on a time limit if you want to get that legendary weapon. So you're like, well, shit.
okay. That sounds like BS, but alright.
Or even just the simple ones of like, there's a village on this map, better get to it. And you're just like, fucking A.
Oh my god, there's a. Oh, that sounds painful actually.
One,
There's.
I distinctly remember one in FE6 in which I was betting everything on my Wyvern Rider and just like, milady, please, just be a badass.
Just like, don't hit. Nothing hit her. Nothing hit her. Nothing hit her.
That includes you, bolting mage, you son of a bitch.
Bolting has got to be the worst thing. So speaking of that, I want to talk about Ursula for a second,
Yes, that was the one chapter I was thinking of. Her chapter is never great.
but before that, there's a chapter before that where you, Lord Elber's just died and Elliewood is upset and um,
Yeah, just outside the village.
right, you're. I think it's one of the first chapters you have Ninian and like,
It is the first chapter, yeah, Ninian.
it's just like fog of war at night chapter and the boss, um, will surprise you because he's also mounted and
No, he's not.
he's not. He has
No.
something nasty. Oh right, he's a berserker. Um,
Nope. He's a warrior.
okay,
He,
warrior. Sorry, but
trust
for
me, if he was a
sure.
berserker, he'd be a lot more terrifying.
There's he has like a really nasty weapon or something, and
Oh
like
yeah, no,
got the
I
drop.
think he has a silver axe. I think he has a steel bow. I think he has a steel axe and a steel bow, and he has a high
And,
attack stat. So
and considering it's like chapter 17 or 18 when this happens, that's
yeah, that sounds like around the time.
it. I remember that chapter being kind of difficult. Like lots of light mages everywhere, and then there's that boss who can sneak up on you.
And all those wavered riders that come in.
Right. So, and then yeah, the other one is Ursula's map where you have Nina and Jafar on opposite sides of this really long corridor. Um, it's
Jafar can be suicidal as fuck.
right. It's fog of war, and you start at the top, and you have to defend for like 20 turns or something. No, I think it's just 10.
12 or 13, I forget.
God, that map is long, and Ursula killed many people just because she has bolting.
Yep.
It's fucking bullshit. You can't see her, and she has bolting.
Yep.
That
When you find out where she is, she's usually attacking someone you don't want her to attack.
mhm. Yeah, I think we at that point we were making save states like every like 2 or 3 turns. So like
Now,
we didn't want to cheese the game, but we didn't want to completely restart chapters.
right? No fair.
So, um, that that was a like reset save state several times.
Yep, and that's where Merlinus is your best friend, because if you got him to his carriage state, you just have him take those hits.
Merlinus is an interesting character. So I applaud this game for making the convoy easily the most interesting version of the convoy, just because he's actually a character.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
but
worth. It's a little bit worse than FE6 because it's the same system, but he takes up a unit slot.
oh, that's bull.
Yeah,
Uh, so I'm glad. So one of the, I guess one of the problems with this game is there are some things that feel very archaic after playing like Awakening and Fates,
hmm
and one of those is the convoy. Um, I'll give it credit though. He is a dodge tank, and it's
Oh
hilarious because
yeah, his
it's
surprising amount of dodge for a tent.
right. It's just this idea like, oh shit, this thing's attacking the. Oh, it missed. How actually? How?
You
Um,
surprisingly don't need to defend Merlinus that much in this game, actually.
no, you really
maybe
don't.
like an axe user to help him out when, like in Eric's chapter, when Pegasus Knights might show up. But other than that, you're not like. I guess he'll take care of himself. I don't know.
Right.
He can't die.
Right. So there's really no pressure. Like, who cares if one chapter the tent gets hit too many times?
Yeah. The only
Uh,
bad thing is that he won't level up, so you can't get his cart state sooner, which
which
just means he's a better dodge tank because then you could throw him at people.
I didn't know that for a while. So, um, with and it's hilarious to me that he can have the support with Marcus.
You
So
can
like
have a support with Marcus, Vida, and Nino.
it's just hilarious. Like those are the
Oh,
units. Those are especially the units like you would throw in the back line because you either don't want experience going to them or they're too squishy. So like it's kind of hilarious. But right, I'm surprised at this chapter with Ursula that like so you have to talk to Nino and then Nino has to go talk to Jafar and it's just it takes so long to get down there and the fact that Ursula is camping down there.
hmm
Um I we didn't end up recruiting Jafar just because we didn't know about that.
yeah, you looked it up later.
Looked it up later, but dang, there's so many things about this game that like how were people supposed to figure it out and how did people figure that out? Um, it makes sense that Nina would have to talk to Jafar, but the they give you a very small time frame to do that.
hmm
Uh, so bad parts about this game, it's archaic, like with the convoy. I was so happy when I was playing Sacred Stones and like chapter 2 it's like, hey, you have a convoy and it doesn't take any slots and you don't have to deploy on the field. It's
Heck, I
just like,
think having the Lord have the convoy was an FE3 thing.
yeah. So
I wouldn't
um,
be surprised if it was an FE5 either.
that was very nice. I appreciated that, and of course, this game, no enemy ranges is a hard use to get used to.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
quite convenient nowadays to be able just to bring up the enemy's range and keep it on screen.
and God, there was another thing that really bothered me playing this game, but I can't remember precisely what. And I mean, I don't think it makes it unplayable. It's just one of those like you have to get used to it.
hmm
You told me I was dumb about this, but for a while it was like, why won't the game just automatically tell me I'm gonna double? Um, and it turns out it's just on detailed attack screen. It doesn't tell you you're gonna double. Um, but if you're playing on simplified, it does tell you.
I don't think there's even a difference. Like, I don't think you can set that up.
I did. I totally did. I got attack speed. That's what I got, and I'm like, okay, well, I had to look it up. How much attack speed for doubling? Like, question while I got you here, can you quad in Fire Emblem 7? Is that a thing?
Technically, you can get quadruple hits if you have a brave weapon and you double.
Okay. I was curious if that was a thing or not.
Yeah. You can quad all the time in FE4 because there's abilities like that.
Hmm.
There's literally
So
an ability called Continue, in which you just start a whole new round of combat right then and there.
what?
Yeah.
That sounds really dangerous, but awesome.
It's dangerous because some bosses with long range weapons have them.
Oh God.
Hey, I have a meteor spell. Hey, I'm
Oh,
gonna attack again.
I. Wow. All right. That sounds bad. All right.
Oh, there is a
So
detailed screen, huh? I
yeah,
never.
I told you.
Well,
I
wait,
I,
let me.
I put it on because my brother asked me like, so how much like resistance does that guy have? Or and I'm like, hold up.
Huh? I guess it doesn't tell you if you double, huh?
Which is annoying. That's super annoying because
Why
I
would the
do want.
detailed Why would the detailed screen be worse than the normal screen?
Right? I don't know, but um, I actually kind of like the detailed screen more because it does tell you more.
I never knew this existed. I am so confused.
That's what I used. So moving into our last few questions, last two specifically. Advice for playing this game, and yeah, well, so advice for playing if you're going to play Fire Emblem 7. I really enjoyed it because I think I was playing it through with someone, but that's like advice for any video game ever, really.
Yeah, no, like I would give that advice for most of the longer Fire Emblem games. Like hell,
Which
FE4 would be a lot more enjoyable if I had someone to talk to while playing that.
maybe I'll play it. I don't know, but yeah, Jesus, this game's long. I wasn't expecting 31 chapters, and that's for Elliewood. I think Hector's like 33 or 34, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
it adds on a couple more chapters.
this is one of the longer Fire Emblem games I've played.
Yeah, in terms of
Uh,
raw chapters, it's one of the longest.
um, Gosh, advice. Well, you've heard me bitch a little bit about the detailed screen not telling you that you're gonna automatically double, but
Simplified will often be better for most playthroughs. Hell, I've played this game multiple times and I didn't know about the detailed screen because why would I never want to change that?
right. The simplified screen tells you enough information, but detailed for Shadows of Valentia I thought was better than
Oh well,
simplified.
all the 3DS games, their detailed screen is much better because it tells you
What?
a lot more.
Right, like what I actually want to know instead of
Yeah.
like I don't know. At some point, the simplified screen's like, you have a 80% hit chance, and you'll do this much damage. And like, I want to know defenses, and yeah,
Well, I mean,
whatever.
the defenses tells you it just does all the calculations for you, which is appreciated. But
Yeah. Um, let's see. Don't use axe fighters, except for Hector. Um,
Dorcas and
Hector's
Bartra are definitely early game units. They don't stand
right.
well to the rest of it. Again, that's another advice. Don't be afraid to stop using units.
Right. Me and my brother actually kind of started doing this without you advising it, but for sure. This game gives you a lot of units, and a lot of late game units are just as viable. So,
Yeah, like
the.
you can
Sorry.
absolutely just pick up and play with Pent or Isadora. I wouldn't say when Wallace comes back, you don't want to really use him because he misses out on a lot of those stats that he probably would have liked earlier.
There's.
But
Yeah, I
Geitz does
mean.
good job. Harkin is amazing, especially with hard mode bonuses. Carol's all right.
Mm,
I mean, he's a sword master, so he'll crit a lot, but he's stuck to one range.
Carol is fine.
Yeah, but yeah, no, like late game pre promotes will certainly do the job, and if they don't, then don't use them.
Right. Um,
But also, don't feel pressure to stick to using Lynn, Hector, and Elliewood in every single chapter.
right. That's another advice. So I ended up arena cheesing for those three units, and honestly, you don't really need to. Um,
Heck, even though they are required in the final chapter, that's not an issue. Like if you didn't
yeah,
train them up well or they haven't been doing well, then just have them run away. Have someone else take care of things.
right. So with those three specifically, it's not until like chapter like 24 or 25 and when your first lord will promote,
Yeah.
and then it's like 2 or 3 more chapters until your second lord will promote, and then like Elliewood, if you're playing
Your
Elliewood's
yeah,
story.
your main lord will always be the last, and it's always the longest wait.
Right. So I ended up arena cheesing on that pirate, the bonus pirate mission,
Mm-hmm. The port.
and um, I don't regret doing it, but I honestly can tell you that getting them all three to level 20, I really didn't need to because
No.
there's so much time before you actually promote in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, promotion unit, or so coming off of the 3DS games, promotion items are kind of a new concept to me, but
Yeah, that's annoying.
yeah, it's annoying that it's not just Master Seal for everything.
It's even more annoying when some items are super limited.
Right. I never found an assassination contract, and
Well, I mean, you would have, because you get. Oh yeah, no, you didn't. You get it in the chapter you would get Jafar.
right. So
You
I've
missed out on
never.
it. The only assassination contract is in that chapter.
Wow, that's frustrating.
I
But
don't think a Master Seal works either.
no, an Earth Seal didn't work. Um,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, Stefan, you kind of told me about this later, but in the GBA Fire Emblem games, and I guess earlier entries, thieves don't really need to fight.
Nope. They are utility units. They were designed that way from the beginning.
So when I got Matthew to about level 15, I was kind of like, I really need that promote so I can get him into more fighting status. And it turns out I didn't really need to. Like, you should
Yeah.
still level up your thief so they can avoid things.
Avoid and make sure they have enough speed to steal.
Right. But you don't have to worry about them reaching max level or even promoting them.
Yep.
So,
Like, I mean, I know FE4, technically, they had a promotion for your thief, but
okay.
it was so hard pressed to get them to that point that it was never worth it. And even then, all it did was just mean that they could earn some money in the arenas easier. There was no real benefit to having your thief promoted.
All right. Well,
So yeah, it
yeah.
wasn't until, I mean, I can't speak for the Radiant games because I've yet to play them, but it wasn't until Awakening where they tried to make the thieves more of a viable weapon, and that's mostly just because of the lethality skill.
Hmm. Um, definitely still bring thieves because there's so many chapters. It's just like, oh, there's a chest
Oh
in the
yeah,
corner.
until like at least Cog of Destiny, you should always have a thief on you.
Yeah. Especially they see further in Fog of War maps. It's just like, yeah, bring a thief.
They are utility.
Um,
Um,
right. We already covered.
don't
Like,
be too afraid to have multiples of the same class. Like I
oh
said, it
yeah,
can get a little stupid, but you can absolutely have 5 paladins running around at the same time, and you're good.
paladins are stupidly useful. I would recommend like having a diverse base, so like having enough mages and enough physical attackers. But yeah,
Oh yeah,
really,
no. If my FE Heroes team tells me anything, is that the fact that Reinhardt is my only magical unit is a bit of a detriment.
hmm um, I I ended up running like one sage, one bishop, and one druid, and that was fine, really. Um, and I especially like that because the druid and the bishop can heal other people, and the sage, I think.
Yeah, all
So,
all promoted mages can heal.
um, definitely like every other Fire Emblem game, Pegasus Knights are stupidly good.
Draco Knights are also very good.
Um, and I think that's all the advice I would have for playing this game. Like it's a little archaic to play it, but once you get past some of the more like quality of life changes that Fire Emblem has done over the years, it's a lot of fun, and I definitely recommend it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I just segued into my next question. So, would you recommend this game? I just said I would. Um,
Yeah.
and what version? So, this is tough because I don't think I'd recommend playing this game on a GBA.
Despite the fact that that's like, I can do that, but you have to go out of your way to find a copy.
Mm.
And that's not easy. I mean, hell, the amount of bootlegs that you could find on the internet is just stupid.
I would play this game the way I did play it is on Wii U Virtual Console, but I'd play on
Yeah.
Virtual Console.
If all the Wii U Virtual Console gets moved over to the Switch, then I would recommend that.
Yeah, if this game comes to Switch, I'd instantly download it again, even though I don't think I'd play it for like another year or two.
I mean,
But
that's like with some people that's just like, oh, I found out that Mega Man Legends has gotten a new release. I'll
oh
just buy
shit!
it. I'll buy it to support it, but then I won't play it because I don't have that kind of time.
Oh my
Like I
god!
hear that from multiple people. It's like I want Capcom to know I want more of these damn games, but I don't have the time to
Yeah,
actually play it. So I'll throw you my money at it and have 5 billion copies just to tell you that I want the next game.
I mean, side note, Legends One maybe not so much, but Legends Two is a really long game,
Oh yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that. But
All of the Capcom, I mean Mega Man RPGs, they go quite a while.
so, um, I mean, the reason why I recommend the Wii U version specifically is just I had one save state, and that really helped in the longer maps. Just when like a random crit would happen, or I made one wrong move, and it not being set back 30, 40 minutes, an hour is. I think it helped me enjoy this game a lot more.
This game is an ideal entry point. Either this or Awakening are two of the best ways to get into the series.
I'm glad you brought
Also,
this up.
also Sacred Stones, mostly because Sacred Stones is a lot easier, but this one has a much more enjoyable cast. I definitely I hear a lot more people give a lot of joy to FE7, mostly because it was their first one. But yeah, really, any GBA game except for 6, because that one's has quite the difficulty spikes, or
Uh,
Awakening are great entry points for the series.
so this threw a wrench in my excuse me, in my recommendation for oh gosh, got the burps. For recommending which Fire Emblem game to play first. So right, so if you don't have a Wii U, which not a lot of people do, or a 3DS,
Especially
like
nowadays.
would I recommend playing this game on emulation? Probably. I'm not very savvy with emulation, so
If
I
it's
don't know.
if it's legitimately difficult or impossible to acquire the game, I am always fine with piracy.
So, have you tried emulating this game? Does it run fine? I'm sure it
Yeah,
does,
no,
but
GBA is one of the most easily emulated things, and they will play fine.
all right. I just having a save state for this game. That's I think the big one for me.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a nice safety net, but
yeah, and with the 3DS Fire Emblem games, I don't feel like I need a safety net because the game gives me enough tools that I don't feel gypped out or whatever, right? So,
unless you're like almost done with the conquest chapter and then a bullshit a long range attack hits you.
okay, fair enough. Conquest is kind of different, but so I used to have this thing, used to still kind of do, where the ABCs of Fire Emblem is Awakening, Birthright, Conquest.
Mhm.
Um, and that's how I'd recommend. Like, hey, you're getting into Fire Emblem, Awakening, Birthright, Conquest,
Yeah.
ABC. Um, this game, to me, the tutorial is too long. Um,
Oh yeah, no, it beats it into you.
this game introduces like baby steps. It's like every small thing about this game is introduced to you so slowly.
Fire Emblem 8 was a much better job because it felt way more organic.
Right.
Like it still
And
feels like a tutorial up until you get your lord pick, but it doesn't insult you or slow down the game to a crawl.
right with Lynn, there was a few chapters where it's like, okay, I know what a mountain does. Okay, okay, you
Hey,
know.
we need to show you that this weapon is weak against this weapon. So we're gonna
Right,
make our unit attack him. And it's just like,
right,
can I just play this efficiently? I don't want to play on
yeah,
hard mode. Or even if I do want to play on hard mode, I don't want to deal with all this crap.
right. So it honestly is hard for me to recommend this just because I think the tutorial's almost demeaning
Yeah.
at some point.
Now that I
Where
think
it's
about
like,
now that I'm thinking about the tutorial, yeah, I would say actually FE8 is probably an ideal place to start if you want to go with the older games first.
um, that being said, like once you get to Elliewood, and I think the last two chapters of Lynn is fine, but
Yeah,
like once you get to Elliewood, the game kind of takes off the gloves and
it starts.
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I have this distinct memory of playing. I got up to the second chapter in Elliewood before I restarted playing the game with my brother, and I had this distinct memory of playing the first chapter of Elliewood. I'm like, this feels like a chapter one, um, but it's certainly harder. It's no, not as hard as like the last chapter of Lynn, but like
No, of
it's a
course not.
lot. It's a lot harder than the majority of Lynn's story, and it doesn't tutorial you at all, which is nice.
Yeah, because they
So
figure either you already sat through it or you skipped it.
right. So um, would I recommend this as the first Fire Emblem entry? Yeah, I think you're right. Sacred Stones is more palpable. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
tutorial you as hard.
because
Um,
both this and Awakening, because while Awakening isn't as bad, they both really like to beat you over the head of here's this mechanic. We'll tell you about it.
so I mean, I've been playing Awakening mainly because of Heroes, and um, I remembered that in Awakening there was this thing where you could see a lot of the old Fire Emblem heroes and maps, and you could recruit some. So I wanted to see if I could recruit Elliewood. Disappointing that I can't. Um, or Hector. I don't even think Hector appears in those maps, which is also
They don't
disappointing.
appear in the DLC maps. No, you can only get them by doing the Street Pass stuff.
Which is that's frustrating. I really like both those characters, and
Mm-hmm.
that's frustrating. But regardless, with Awakening, I just press start for all the tutorials, and it just goes away.
Yep,
So I
you can
really didn't
skip it.
mind that.
Awakening has advantage of the power of the skip button.
Right. So I don't mind that. And I mean, in Fire Emblem 7, like they force you to like. Then it's like, no, I need to move there. And I'm like, really? Right there? Yes, right there. Okay.
GBA was pretty horrid with that, with any kind of somewhat RPG game. Like the Battle Network
Yeah.
games. Oh my god. I
Um.
know all of this. Let me just skip it.
Right. So, hmm. I'm gonna say yes, but only if you can't play 8 first.
Yeah.
Um, if you're gonna play old Fire Emblem, I still think Awakening is probably the most probably
Easily
the best.
accessible. Easily accessible and not a bad introduction.
Right. I still think that's probably the best intro game. Followed by maybe by Birthright, but Birthright's boring, so I don't
Yeah.
know. I I mean that map design, not really the game itself. The game is fine.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's our Fire Emblem discussion. Hope you like that.
Hope we didn't
Thank you.
ramble too much for your guys' tastes.
Yeah, and thank you for listening all the way through. Next time we do this, gosh, I need to get better at a set schedule, but I'm moving tomorrow, so who knows. Um,
You've got priorities.
Next time we do this, we'll probably talk about No More Heroes, specifically two, but we could probably lump the first one in there too.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough references in the first game and second. Well, in the second game that can tie to the first game, so we can find tangents.
Yeah, we might talk about Odyssey. We might talk about Kirby. I don't know. There's a lot of games that,
I mean,
yeah,
I wouldn't be there for Odyssey. I've yet to actually play it.
yeah. But you've played Kirby, so
Yeah, Kirby.
all right. Well, thank you. And gosh, I was about to say Anton. I'm so used to doing these with Anton. Stefan, do you want to plug anything? Are you
I have an Instagram, Stefan Woe. That's I put most of my drawings. Usually can't get many out recently because of university, but that's usually where you'll find me.
okay?
Nothing
Um,
else is of real value.
gosh,
Don't have a YouTube setup for my animation, so there's nothing there, and Twitter's just kind of a mess. So yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me.
Well, fair enough. You can find me at Twitter at default_hero with two O's. But I'm boring on Twitter.
Yeah.
Bad at the plugs. Anyways, thank you again. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Have a good day.